Hi all, welcome to the first video of the Streets YouTube channel. The World Cup has just come and gone, and we've seen everything from a messy greatness to incredible shocks. Now we're going to jump straight into what my overview of the 2022 Qatar World Cup. Now, before the tournament started, there was a lot of politics around this hosting of the World Cup for Qatar, and it was very, very publicised, and rightly so. A lot of high celebrities coming out and slating the tournament, slating the hosting of the tournament, which was good, and we cannot get away from those facts. However, if we cut that away and talk strictly about football, then hands down it can go down as one of the best World Cups. I would not say the best World Cup, even though Infantino thinks differently. Certainly one of the best World Cups in recent memory. There was no trouble. Nobody heard of any trouble inside or outside stadiums. I think that was largely due to the lack of alcohol being consumed, but it was amazing. And under the covers of FIFA, they kind of brought through some rule changes, some slight rule changes, which I think benefited the running of not only the World Cup, but hopefully going forward football in general. So first off, I'm going to talk about the new possession system. Strictly talking about the in-contest area of the possession. I just think that gives a more depth analysis to statisticians when going over possession. It shows if a team has more possession and which team hasn't, and then also the amount of possession then which is in contest being contested, which is not in control by either team, which I think is a grateful addition, and I hope more broadcast companies will bring that going forward in the near future. Another thing which got a lot of controversy in the football space was the added time. The added time was a big problem at the start, because I don't know whether it certainly wasn't common knowledge to the average fan, but whether that was known by football teams heading into the World Cup, I'm not so sure. But what that led to was massively increased injury time, and as it might have added to a lot of very good drama. One I can note was Iran versus Wales. There was a goal 99th and 101st minute. Now you'd never get that in your average game. So for that to have been brought in for the World Cup, it added a lot of excitement, and no one quite knew when the games were going to finish. So everyone was fighting to the death. One thing that did come from that was you had more guaranteed in-game minutes, which was very, very good. People talk a lot of, especially lately, people have been talking about how there's been less and less football actually being played due to, say, time wasting, balls going out of play, injuries, faking injuries, what have you. But it seemed maybe not the first game, maybe not the first lot of games, because people are still getting to grips with it, but certainly then going forward, second, third game week, game days, and then last 16 quarters, semis and final, you've seen a gradual decline in the amount of injury time given. It was still quite high. You're 6, 7, 8 minutes at the end of a game, but when you compare that to a regular football game where there might be one injury in the second half, substitutions, you're talking about 4 or 5 minutes at a time anyway, so it's only an increase of like 2 to 3 minutes, which by doing that guaranteed more in-game minutes, more time actually playing football, but B, also you didn't really see anybody time wasting, which was very good. There was still people holding it in the corners, which is your say legal time wasting, but I mean in terms of you're going down injured, breaking up play, cynical challenges type thing. So you've seen a massive decrease in that, which was, I think, beneficial to the World Cup, and I hope that gets then carried forward to every other football league, and I think that will be a great addition. Right, so going on to the games, we're done talking about Qatar, we're done talking about FIFA. We're now going to talk about strictly World Cup, the games and the spectacle it was, and what a spectacle. We had some shocks. Like I just said, we had some shocks. You talk about first game day. You had the Saudi Arabians beating the Argentinians, the eventual winners. The only time they lost previously in 36 games, and then they lose their first game of the World Cup, which I'm guessing spurred them on for ultimately world glory. You had Japan beating Germany, especially when the Germans went ahead. A great comeback from Japan, and again, the same when Japan played Spain. Morata scoring early, Japan coming back and ultimately winning the game, which saw them through, and through as group winners. Which in a group of Spain and Germany, that was very difficult to see them even progressing, let alone finishing top of the group. And by beating Spain, ultimately knocked Germany out of the World Cup, which was in itself a massive shock. Feel free in the comment section to name, if I've missed any shocks that you feel. But we're going to quickly move on to some of the teams which you're talking about your Argentinas, your Frances, that had incredible runs in this World Cup. But one team which nobody mentioned, which were incredible, and I think the only person, especially celebrity, that I seen mentioning them in a good light was Samuel Eto'o, and that was Morocco. He seen someone in the team, and clearly they knew what they were doing. The energy output every game was outstanding. Unfortunately, by the semi-finals, it kind of caught up with them. Their main centre half went off prior to the game, didn't even start, and then Roman Saiz only made it 15 minutes. So that heavily compromised their game. They were known for being a stalwart in defence, energy. Especially from the midfield, you had your Sofian Amrabat's, your Unahis, they were all exceptional, as well as they had the Sofian Boufal and Hakim Ziyech and Nassr up top, and they all provided energy, quick feet, very good football. Really, really impressed by that Morocco team, and I haven't even mentioned arguably their best player in Hakimi. I thought he played very well all tournament. So now I'm going to talk about who I thought were top players in each team. There are some teams which I'm not even going to mention. That's either due to them underperforming when they were a bigger nation, or strictly they just didn't turn up. They weren't expected to turn up, and they just didn't. So those teams I'm not going to mention top players from are Qatar, Tunisia, Wales, Denmark, Costa Rica, Uruguay, Mexico, Australia, Belgium, and Senegal. And that's no disrespect to any of those nations, but I didn't see anyone in particular that stood out from any of those teams. So it wasn't worth me kind of mention them in this video. So I'm going to start off in Group A, and opening game, Qatar Ecuador. and there's only one place to start with Ecuador, and that's Enner Valencia. He started off 2 brilliant goals. He had another one, chalked off, which was dubious, but he started off really well. Got another goal later on in the tournament in game day 2, and I thought for a lesser nation he performed very well. Next, I'm going to go on to the Netherlands, and standout player for the Netherlands, Cody Gakpo. He performed very well every game. He stand out, and unfortunately he let himself down a little bit in the last 16, but he was very good. And I'm going to give a mention to Andreas Noppert, the goalkeeper. His story, his rise up into the Dutch national team has been amazing, and I think at his age he's hopefully fulfilled a dream of starting in a World Cup. So we're going to go into Group B. I start with England because I thought England had a somewhat a very good tournament. They were just beaten on the day by a better French team, which could have gone either way, which is better than you could say in recent years. I've watched England games and they've kind of choked, but against a French team they stood up, and it could have actually gone either way, 50-50 game. So I'm going to mention first player I'm going to mention is Jude Bellingham. I thought Jude Bellingham was exceptional. Every game he played, obviously he didn't play in game day 3, but I thought every other game he played, even against France, he was exceptional. He was picking up the ball, driving at players, running past players, picking passes out, allowing the game to flow. He was exceptional, and at 19 years of age, the kid's got a massive future ahead of him. wherever he goes. It sounds like it's either going to be Manchester City, Real Madrid, or Liverpool. I have no personal preference where he's going to go, and I think he'll be a big success either way. The next I'm going to mention is Bukayo Saka, who I thought was a menace. Again, a menace every game he played. He got goals. He got forward runs. He was a menace, especially against France. They couldn't handle him out on that right wing. I think he was strong. He was very, very tough to get the ball off. Yes, the France's first goal, was he fouled? Wasn't he fouled? It was a bit 50-50, but take that away, he was very good. And the last person I'm going to mention for England is Marcus Rashford. I thought he didn't get the game time of say the other players, but I thought when he did play, he was electric. He came on, either changed games, added something different. Again, he got back to what everybody knows of Marcus Rashford, this dynamic forward running individual who has the ability to go past players and score goals, and he hasn't been doing that for Manchester United, but he managed to do it very well for England when he was asked, which was very good. So next I'm going to go on to Iran, and for such a small footballing nation, it's good to have one player that they rely on, and I think he turned up, and I think he done very well, was Mehdi Taremi. He scored 2 goals against England. I understand they lost 6-2, but he did score 2 goals in that game, which if it was closer and it went down to goal difference, those 2 goals could have been vital. Then he scored against Wales, and he was there first, when Hennessy took him out, and ultimately got him sent off, which gave Iran the advantage to go on and win the game late on. So for the USA, it was quite tough, to be fair. There wasn't many actually standout performances, but I just wanted to give a mention to Christian Pulisic. He seems to be struggling a lot for the Chelsea team, whether that's lack of confidence, loss of form. The managers, Tuchel and Potter, who has come in, prefer different options. I don't think the change of ownership helped. Todd Bowley's come in and straight away he bought Raheem Sterling, so that's kind of pushed him out even more. But if either he stays at Chelsea this season, January or in the summer, or he moves on, at least he's proven that he can still perform at a high level in this World Cup. So moving on to Group C, we're going to start off with Saudi Arabia, and I'm going to talk about Salim Al-Dosari. I thought he was the outstanding performer. He got two very crucial goals, one against Argentina, which got them the win, and then he also got a consolation against Mexico, where Mexico needed one more goal to qualify, which ultimately ended Mexico's hopes. But I think he got some vital goals for, again, another small footballer nation. Next I'm going to talk about Argentina, the World Cup winners. Congratulations to them. And I could have talked about a number of their players, but I've stuck to 3 or 4 at max for the bigger nations, and maybe 1 or 2 for the lesser nations who didn't make it as far but had that 1 or 2 outstanding performers. So first one obviously is Messi. I'm not gonna sit here and keep talking about Messi. Everybody knows how good he is. Hopefully he's settled the debate between him and Ronaldo by winning this World Cup, and I've just run out of superlatives to actually say for the guy. I think he's incredible. Next person is Alexis McAllister. He started off the season very well with Brighton, and has actually carried that form to the World Cup, in which I think at the age of 23 he was one of the star performers. When I looked at their squad and I seen he was going to be one of their main attacking midfielders, I was a bit concerned. I didn't think there was enough there, but I got proven wrong. He performed very well most game days, and leading into the last 16 quarters, semis and final. So Alexis McAllister will, in my opinion, with a 50 million buyout clause, either in January or the summer, earn himself a bigger move. Sorry to disappoint any Brighton fans that may be listening, but I think he might have earned himself a move to a slightly bigger club. And another player who definitely has earned himself a move to a bigger club, I'm not disrespecting Benfica, but that's Enzo Fernandez. I think at 21 years of age, he won Young Player of the Tournament. He looks like he's got a very, very, very bright future. He scored a brilliant goal against Mexico, and his all-round play, his carrying of the ball, his passing, his intelligence on the ball was, for such a young guy, exceptional. I think he done very, very well, and that's why I've put Enzo Fernandez in one of my top players for the Argentina team. Right, moved on to Poland, and the only real player I've got in there is Wojciech Szczesny. I thought he performed very well. He made a couple of good penalty saves, and I think he done really well. I do want to give him, even though he wasn't in my top players, I want to give a mention to Robert Lewandowski. Because he got his first World Cup goal. Is for a player of his quality, it's a big moment for him, and I'm glad to see he got to do it on the big stage, and that could no longer be a burden on his illustrious career. And I think he's been exceptional. It wasn't his best World Cup, wasn't his best games, but at least he got those goals. At least he got to perform well, and Poland made it out of the group, and like I said, he did perform okay. So it's a Group D. I've only got France in Group D. So for Group D, I've got you know, your regulars, your Mbappe's. Again, I don't really want to talk about too much about Mbappe because everyone knows how brilliant he is. Olivier Giroud, he's shown that he's still got it. You know, he scored 4 goals in the World Cup. Again, he surpassed Thierry Henry's France record by doing so, and hats off to the guy. He keeps performing at the highest level in the World Cup finals, and I can't say anything bad about him. Next one is Antoine Griezmann. Now Griezmann played a much deeper role in these finals. He plays as more of a central midfielder, and I thought he performed exceptionally well. He was, you know, could have been man of the match in multiple games. You know, he was tracking back, he was making forward passes, he was beating players, he was taking shots from just outside the area. He just performing really well, and he just, you know, continues to show how good of a player he actually is. And the last person for the French team is Aurélien Tchouameni. I think that this kid, another kid that has a massive future, you know, recently signed in the summer from Real Madrid, and he had a massive price tag on his shoulders. There was some would say an injury crisis in the French's midfield, and he stood up and he took precedent, and he would done very, very well in a team where, if they were at full capacity with your Kante and your Pogba's in the starting 11s, if they were fit, might not have shined as well as he did without them in there. So with some people's loss, Tchouameni definitely gained. Moving on to Group E, let's start with Germany. There isn't a single player that deserves to be a top player in their team. I don't think they performed very well throughout the tournament. Ultimately, again knocked out at the group stage. But one player I did want to give a mention to was Füllkrug. He came on for his World Cup debut and managed to grab a goal on his World Cup debut, and that's a special moment for that individual. Next up is Japan. Like I mentioned in the shocks, Japan came back against both Germany and Spain, with Ritsu Doan getting a goal in both of those games. You can't deny how well he played. He was a constant threat to both of those big nations, and that's why he's one of my top performers in the Japan team. Moving on to Spain, and I'm going to start with Morata, a striker who I thought might have struggled. I don't think he is a striker who you can rely on for many goals, but he did perform very well in this World Cup. I suppose I shouldn't have really underestimated him, because Spain's going to have a lot of possession. They're going to have a lot of balls into the box, and if you have a capable striker, in which Morata is, then he's bound to go on the end of a couple, and so he did. And he also was a provider for some of those goals as well, and especially against Costa Rica. I know it's only one game, but he did play exceptionally well. And the last player I'm going to mention for Spain is Gavi. For his age, such a young player, such a young talent. He continues to outperform most players at his level and older. I think he was amazing, and nobody can deny that he as well as probably Pedri, though it seems like a reincarnation of Xavi and Iniesta. They seem to just keep churning out these exceptional talents. Barcelona for the national team. I'm moving on to Group F. I'm going to start with Croatia. Again, what a tournament Croatia had. People were writing them off at the start, saying they had an Asian squad. They wouldn't be able to do it. They were in a hard group, and just look at, they finished third, second lot, in 2018, and third this year. It's another very good tournament for them. First player I want to give a mention to is Luka Modric. You know, 37 years of age, still bossing it in midfield, absolutely class. I haven't got a bad word to say about the guy. He's a very, very good special football player, and as other than say a World Cup internationals, he's won everything there is, and you know, one of the best midfield greats to have played the game. Next is Livakovic. I thought the goalkeeper was outstanding all tournament. In some people's team of the tournament, he was outstanding, making vital saves. And yeah, he was very, very good. Last player I'm going to mention for the Croatian team was Gvardiol. At 20 years of age, I thought he was outstanding. He was on many teams' radars prior to the World Cup with you know, like an €18 million transfer fee being touted about, and people were saying Chelsea was heavily interested at that price. I can see that price rising now, not dramatically, because I think €80 million is a massive price, but I think RB Leipzig might be looking for, you know, around the €100 million mark if they are to let him go. Next, I'm going to talk about Canada, and I think obviously the main focus is on Alphonso Davies. He got their first ever World Cup goal, and I think when he played in a forward role, even though he's not used to it at Bayern Munich, I think he performed very well. I think he kind of took what he does at Bayern, you know, running with the ball, beating players, delivering balls into the box. I think he's done that to the same standard for the Canada team, and I think, unfortunately, they didn't have the attacking prowess that you get in a Bayern Munich team. So, and ultimately letting them down in forward areas. And another player I mentioned was on the other side of the wing, and that was Tajon Buchanan. I think he performed really well. Some outlets had him in their worst team of the tournament, but I thought he played very, very well out on that right wing. I thought he was beating players, delivering good balls into the box. Again, we talk about the attacking deficiencies they had. I thought he performed very well, and I think he's in to move from Club Brugge maybe in January or the summer to a bigger, better club in Europe. I think that's heavily on the cards for him. Now on to Morocco, and again, like I said earlier, Morocco had a fantastic World Cup. Energy, excitement, defensive capabilities. Their goalkeeper Bounou was on fire, and I think that they performed very, very well, and they should be very proud of themselves. So the first player I'm going to mention is Unahi. I think he performed so well in midfield. You know, his energy was outstanding. You could tell he's been trained very well. The manager knows exactly what they wanted from him, and he performed exceptionally well on the biggest stage, and all credit to him, and I hope that those performances earned him a big move in the future. Now moving on to my next player, and this player has definitely earned a move in the future to a big club, and I've heard Liverpool being a possible destination for him, and that's Sofian Amrabat. Defensive midfield, I thought he was exceptional all tournament, broke up so much. People will remember him for his tackle on Mbappe where he sprinted back, dived in, won the ball. He was amazing. Every game he played, never stopped giving his all. Awesome. And the last player I'm going to mention is Hakim Ziyech. Now, I don't think he done anything spectacular. However, just like Christian Pulisic, was left in the cold at Chelsea, barely played, and has used this World Cup to kind of give him that platform again to either earn himself a move or push on at Chelsea and, you know, get a good platform now and kick on and hopefully keep a place in the starting 11. Moving on to Group H, I'm going to start with Ghana, and there's only one player for Ghana who I wanted to mention, and that's Mohamed Kudus. Again, another young player who is very, very exciting. You see him in the Champions League and he's scoring goals. He scored against Liverpool not that long ago, and he continued that form for Ghana. And I thought he performed very, very well. Moving on to Portugal. Portugal was a weird one because they had games where they performed very well, and they had games where they performed not so well. But I thought there was a few constant performers. First one being Bruno Fernandes. I thought he was very good all tournament. I think again, that box-to-box midfielder going forward, coming back, breaking up play, bringing the ball out, spreading passes, having attacking chances. I thought he was very, very good. Next player I want to talk about was João Felix. This player was, epitomised Portugal in that they played very well. Some games didn't play very well. In others, in some games, mainly against Denmark, he was outstanding. Everything went through him. He had loads of time on the ball. He was able to pick his passes, able to set up so many goals, attacking chances. He was outstanding. But then when they played Morocco, he wasn't to be seen. He was out the game. He was drifting, and it kind of sums up João Felix's career so far. Exceptional talent, but sometimes just goes missing in games. And hopefully, if Atletico are to let him go in either January or the summer, the next club he goes to, he'll be able to be electric the majority of the time. Next player I want to talk about was Rafael Leão. I don't think he got the minutes he deserved. I thought every time he came on, he was amazing. I thought he was very, very good, top talent, but he didn't get the starting minutes I believe he deserved. But obviously I'm not the manager, so I can't really complain on his behalf. And the last player I want to give a mention to, I don't think he played enough minutes. Also was Gonzalo Ramos. The game he played against Denmark, his first game, World Cup debut, outstanding, hat-trick. Other than Mbappe in the final, the only other player to grab a hat-trick in the tournament, and I thought he was outstanding. He got on the end of everything. He was very, very good aerially, and he is going to have a very, very bright future. I can see him leaving Benfica for a massive fee, and wherever he goes, maybe in Europe, he will be a great success because I think he's very, very good talent. Okay, so on to South Korea. South Korea was one of the teams that probably slightly disappointed me in the tournament. Son was coming into the tournament with a slight injury. He had that surgery on his eye. So it was kind of hard to expect big things from him, but on the flip side, you'd hope that he would turn up, especially because so many of the big players for each team did turn up, and I think Son kind of let him down. But one player that did impress me was the number 9. I think his name is Gui-sung Cho. I thought he was very, very good. Especially in the game against Ghana, where he's got those 2 goals in 3 minutes, got them back into the game, and he looked very dangerous. Now on to Group G, start with Switzerland, and I thought for Switzerland, I think Breel Mbolo played very, very well. Got his 2 goals. I think very, very strong presence up front, which they needed, which they relished off. He able to hold the ball up, which brought his team up the field, which is good. And obviously the last person is Granit Xhaka, consistent performer for Switzerland. Glad to see him now doing it for Arsenal as well, and hopefully he can continue that form forward for the rest of the season. And I think he'll have a good season for Arsenal, because he looks like he's got a lot of confidence behind him again. Now on to Serbia, and for Serbia, the only person I've gone for is Aleksandar Mitrovic. Before the Premier League season started, there was questions whether he could, even score in the Premier League. He silenced those doubters. Now he's come to a World Cup finals, grabbed a few goals in ultimately, a poor Serbia team. They didn't perform very well in the tournament, but he did get some goals and he did look very sharp. On to Cameroon, and again, another number 9, Vincent Aboubakar. I think there was a lot of talk for him before the finals, where he made those comments about Salah, basically saying he could do what Salah does, but he just never got the opportunity at a big club. Well, hopefully his performances has earned him a move to a big club. I can't see it being one of the top clubs in Europe, but hopefully he can kick on and ultimately prove his worth. Last but certainly not least, Brazil. They were many people's favourites going into the tournament, and ultimately lost on penalties to a spirited Croatian team. Unfortunately, I don't think, with Neymar's injuries, and it didn't have the best performance against Croatia. It kind of put them on the back foot in that game. The creativity I don't think was there. But I'm going to mention 3 players. First being Thiago Silva. You're talking 38 years of age, still doing it at top level of the Premier League, still bossing it at World Cup finals, and I thought he played outstanding. Richarlison, complete opposite in the Premier League, hasn't scored a goal for Spurs yet, goes to the Brazil national team, and his goal scoring record is outstanding. You can't fault his goal scoring record. I think he played amazing. And the last player I want to mention was Casemiro, still proven he's one of the best holding midfielders in the world. Grabbed a vital goal in matchday 2, and I think that he was, again, he didn't put a foot wrong all tournament. I think he's kept Fabinho out the team, which is maybe not this season a hard thing to do, because Fabinho hasn't performed for Liverpool as well as he should do. But going off a normal Fabinho performance, it's a big thing keeping somebody of that calibre out the squad, and he consistently does that on a game-to-game basis for the national team. So that's all my players for all my top players for each team that I'm going to mention. Now I'm going to move on to my team of the tournament. So in goal, I've gone Emi Martinez, which is pretty self-explanatory after his last minute save heroics, his penalty heroics. The guy is a machine at saving penalties. I've not seen many people that good ever, so hats off to him. Right back, I've gone Denzel Dumfries. It's not everybody's choice. A lot of people went Jules Koundé, but I just think Denzel Dumfries consistently performed very well. He always brought the ball forward. He was very strong, powerful defender, and he earned my right back spot in my team of the tournament. Centre back pairing, I've gone Gvardiol and Otamendi. I thought for the age Otamendi is, he performed very well, and other than giving away a sloppy penalty in the final, I don't think he's done much wrong in the entire tournament. I think he performed very, very well, like I said, especially for an aging centre back. And Gvardiol, complete opposite, up and coming centre half, looks like a mountain, very, very, very strong defender. And the only little blip I can think of in his performances was when Lionel Messi danced around him to put the ball past Croatia, and it's no disappointment to have Lionel Messi do that to you. He does that to 99% of the players he's played against. And the left back spot, I went for Theo Hernandez. it was a very, very sad way he got introduced to the team, with his brother going off of a very, very serious ACL injury. But I think he stepped up to the plate. I think he performed very well in all games that he played. Maybe not the final. L'Equipe gave him a 3 rating. Thought it was quite harsh, but I think the whole French team played bad as opposed to just Theo Hernandez. So he did score a vital goal in the semis, which probably clinched his involvement in my team of the tournament. The 3 midfielders I've gone with: Enzo Fernandez, young player of the tournament; Aurelien Tchouameni, could have, and maybe, obviously if France won, should have been young player of the tournament. And the last one was very difficult for me. It was a toss-up between Jude Bellingham, who I ultimately went with, and Antoine Griezmann. I just thought Jude Bellingham, for his age, his presence on a football pitch, I think was unmatched. I think he was exceptional every game he played, and although England got knocked out by France in the quarters, he done enough to earn a spot in my team of the tournament. And then the front three speaks for itself. Lionel Messi, many people's greatest of all time; Olivier Giroud, 4 goals, consistently played very, very well, was clearly carrying a knock in the final, which ultimately made him get substituted in the 41st minute. And then Kylian Mbappe, which 8 goals, top goal scorer, the heir to Messi's throne, and will be, with Haaland, the best player to play football for the next 5-10 years, in my opinion. Okay, so that is actually going to wrap up my World Cup overview, and next video will be out hopefully Thursday or Friday. This is going to be the Game Week 17 preview for Boxing Day. Back to Premier League fixtures now the World Cup is done, and hopefully we'll see some brilliant displays, and no doubt many images of all the goals that were scored in the 1963 season. But other than that, I've been Jamie, and I will see you on Thursday and Friday with that preview. Thank you very much.